Today, I'd like to say welcome to Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Omasho. Today is all about the debt profile of Africa with special focus on the appeal, so to speak, by Zambia to China to cancel its debt. Edgar Lungu was like, China, please. Xi Jinping, please, you have to do this for us, okay? In order for us to be able to have that financial strength to fight against COVID-19. Well, just to let you know that Africa as a continent, some total of $145 billion is being owed by African countries, all of them put together. Kenya, $5 billion on its own. Why Zambia is like going towards 3, 4, or even not more, both from Eurobond, US, China put together, but it's like the Chinese debt is more in Zambia. And the big question now is, apart from Djibouti, do you think that via this debt profile, will Chinese government take over Zambia, which has been a fear of so many African countries, the Chinese debt syndrome? With me here in the studio to talk about it, I have I have two clergymen, both political analysts. One is a lecturer, but let me start my introduction by introducing Reverend Humphrey Arega, a political analyst, public affairs commentator. Reverend, welcome to Africa Discourse.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your comment.
It's another fine day.
All right. All right. I'd like to also introduce another reverend, but he's an honorable also. He's a lecturer in Uniben, a political analyst. Honorable Frank Amego, welcome to Africa Discourse. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
All right. So here we are, Reverend Humphrey Arega. It's like Edgar Lungu just can't take it anymore. He sees the debt. Maybe somewhere along the line he becomes hypertensive. Was like, can Zambia really get out of this? And of course, according to many persons, he did the logical thing. Make an appeal, please. Cancel this thing. What do you have to say about what is happening right now in Zambia with regards to the debt profile to China?
I'll take a deep breath.
Wow.
Because Africa is become a para of many things. We seem not to understand what the African leadership really understand by their responsibility vis-a-vis the economy of their country. Somebody is asking, there's no big deal asking for a relief. If you have a problem, you ask for pardon. But you have to ask yourself the big question. Why have they come to the state they are in? The debt that they are owing vis-a-vis the development that we have seen in Zambia cannot be compared. Every meaningful individual or responsible individual company, that when you take a loan, you tie it to something. Believing that in your putting these things off, it will pay off itself in such number of years. And then you are able to look at it. And you are looking at how much do you have, what strength do you have to manage these loans. For him to come begging, and these are some of the things, the Bible says to us that a borrower is a slave to the lender. And that's what we have just seen. The debt profile that Zambia and Africans are owing, not just to China. I have been saying it over when we have discussed some things about these of Chinese issues.
Okay.
Two things I've said. First of all, Africans do not understand the Chinese mentality in discussing. And when they are going to discuss or negotiate, Africans don't take even the few who understand Chinese language to help them analyze.
All right.
And look at whether it is helpful or not.
Okay.
It is just that they need the money. China has also said, I have to go and read through some things. It is not easy for China to say, I forgive. Because most of the loans are not by Chinese government, they are by Chinese consortiums. And you cannot just tell a bank or a company to write off. It means the Chinese government will pay those people off.
All right.
Which may not happen. So I want to believe, while we are discussing this issue, that we need to look back and ask ourselves, how did we get here?
All right. How did we get here? The money gotten is proportional to the infrastructural development in Zambia. And how did they get there? That is the next question that will be on cue. But Honorable Frank Amego, what do you feel about all this?
Really, it's unfortunate for Zambia to have gotten to this level of indebtedness. They got their independence in 1964, and the first president then, Kenneth Kaunda, so he was there from 64 to 1991. So majorly, their debts, all those borrowings came in the 70s and the 80s. And the main intention of President Kenneth Kaunda was to borrow and to develop the country. Of course he did. After President Kenneth Kaunda left, we have had 5 presidents, including Edgar Lungu. Yeah. So maybe the name like Edgar is at the edge now of indebtedness. So be that as it may, there are a lot of things that these 5 presidents have done, an outright deviation from the principle of proper governance. That is what Zambia is suffering from now. This present president and the 5 previous ones, excluding the first president, Kenneth Kaunda, what Kenneth Kaunda did was to invent the wheel of governance of Zambia. But these other presidents, they just wanted to reinvent the wheel. They have had a lot of policy somersaults, policies that could not be crystallized, policies that could not stand the test of time. And they have built on that wrong premise all these years. So even if China and the various banks in China agree to cancel their debts, they are owing World Bank. They are owing IMF. They are owing several countries. So I'm of the view that based on their natural resources, they have copper majorly, they have uranium and cobalt. Cobalt now is well sought after, going by the new dimension now that we are moving towards having electric vehicles. So a lot of countries want to have access to cobalt. So why don't you trade them off? China has dominated their country so much so that the debt cancellation will mean nothing, because that debt cancellation will still be tied to something. Okay. So that at the end of the day, you are still owing.
Okay.
Major farms have been taken over by the Chinese people. Most of the things they are doing, they are controlled by China. So even if they cancel their debts, Zambia is going to go back to the same thing. That's number one. Number two, the system of governance there has to change. I'm not appealing that Kenneth Kaunda should come back. He did his 96th birthday on 28th of April. He's 96 years old now.
All right.
So they should go back to the former president and realign the nation such that these debts will, after they are being cancelled, can have meanings to the people of Zambia.
All right, I will come back to you. We're talking about billions of dollars here to the IMF, to the US, to the Eurozone, and even, of course, to China. But they are appealing to Chinese government to just start off debt cancellation. I know you have so much to talk about because you mentioned cobalt, talked about uranium, talked about copper. Can they really mortgage these to settle their debt rather than asking for debt cancellation?
Well, let's see, one of the borderline, like I said earlier, is the fact that African leaders do not have a template on which to properly guide for the development of their countries. They believe in self-aggrandizement. They believe part of the problem of African leaders, Zambia inclusive, is the issue of bribery and corruption and other things. Like I said, how do you negotiate a treaty when you don't have information about the issues? What are the legal implications? They are just concerned about the money. We need the money now. And look at what China does. China doesn't give you a loan and say, take the money. they will bring their citizens. So they use the money to develop their citizens and develop their country, and you are just there. China is trying to colonize Africa, and I don't have sympathy for African countries because it is what you stake yourself to be, that's what they take you. People take you. When you cannot, God has endowed Africa with most of the minerals of the earth that can make any nation. There's nothing Israel has to make them as what they are. But rather than to say, whatever God has given to them, they develop their mind. It is not the copper on the ground that makes you wealthy. It is the brain that you train. When Africans don't develop their citizens to a point of being able to utilize and make an end product of their resources, even if you mine the copper, do you have the capacity? You don't even have the capacity to mine it in the first place. So you're going to bring Chinese technology or American technology or European technology to mine the things, and because you don't know, they tell you what they brought out. You're not aware. Okay? And you are going to sell it to them. They give you the price. But when selling it back to you, it is a hell of a price. And then we are so much in tune with what we call the good things, the big cars, the big houses, that we can't even manage. Every president in Africa is thinking of the next election after winning the first one. So all their energy,
all right,
we're supposed to be running democracy in Africa. We don't have. You have an overloading president who does not regard the parliament, because the parliament are all businessmen at the beck and call. So when you don't have a trained heart, when you don't have a people who have decided to develop themselves, you are going to be enslaved all your life.
All right.
Zambia is just one. Okay, so we mentioned other African countries, including even our country we're talking about. I said, you remember what they used to say? That Nigeria do not know how many gallons or how many liters of oil that is produced in their soil. You don't know because you're not in charge.
Right.
You're not in charge of share. You're in charge of order. So that's the same thing. So Zambia, I just read that even the raid they were doing, they stopped. They say you have not paid, there's no money. Where is the money coming from?
Good question.
The money is coming from China, going back to China, and we have no idea as to how to fix it. Did they not price that project before sourcing for loan? Why would there be a sudden drop of resources when the project is not complete?
Okay, good questions. As in, you asked two major questions here. Where is the money coming from? And talking about the sourcing for loans and the project not being priced. Now, the excuse that Edgar Lunga gave, talking about the president of Zambia, is because of COVID-19. At least for them to have this buffer to come out of this recession occasioned by COVID-19. Is that a tangible excuse?
That's a lame excuse. It got to a point that if I have my ways, China should not cancel that debt. Because the way the country is being run, let IMF, World Bank cancel the debt, Zambia is supposed to be the same as it has been. Now, I think a year or so ago, they entered into an MOU with Saudi Arabia. I was interested. You know the deal they were about to strike? That Zambia will be exporting goats, meh, to Saudi. There's somebody who don't trade on. Is there?
Okay.
Will be exporting goats. Not even elephants, for instance. Goats. Yeah. How long will you go export goats that can meet up with some debts you are owing? So I don't see the seriousness of this present administration. Previous administrations, they have never fared better. So it's an accumulated debt that has risen to this extent. And the way I was even trying to check the exchange rate. The Zambia kwacha, they call it, is one of their currency to about 21 of Naira. Theirs even higher. And the country is about 17 million people. Now you cannot govern majorly Christians. So the point is, the president is not ready to do the needful. Crying that they should give them debt relief or cancellation it doesn't make any difference. Number one, the way Zambia is located, I initially mentioned 3 major natural resources they have. The way Zambia is located on the map of Africa, there are 8 countries surrounding it. 8. So that is to their advantage. Some other countries in the West, they are interested, because if you're able to penetrate into Zambia, you are in a way in charge of these other 8 countries, including the Democratic Republic of Congo. So they're not even looking at what they have. As Reverend said now, you have had all the resources, but the mental know-how is not there, it's not developed. So cancellation of debt cannot even help them. It's just going to be an immediate relief.
All right.
But at the end of the day, if the people of Zambia will come and have what we call a town hall meeting, how do we move forward? Chinese have taken over. Saudi Arabia has gone there. Some other countries have been there. So the more they borrow is majorly corruption.
Corruption.
African leadership, corruption.
Okay. Okay.
So they'll borrow this money and misappropriate.
Okay. All right. I will come back to you shortly. Now, he talked about corruption. He just said that using COVID-19 as an excuse is so lame. And there's this speculation that China, on the other hand, who is working on the ground, is about taking over Zambia due to this high debt profile. How true are these speculations? After all, Xi Jinping talked about relieving debt for African countries worst hit by COVID-19.
See, it is always the form of African leaders to look at one small problem and use it as an excuse. Why has Zambia not said to themselves, let's look at how we are living as a country. Let us cut back our policies. Let us cut back our excessive lifestyle as politicians. Begin from there. And you see whether you will not have what it goes for. How much of the small-scale industry has been developed in Zambia? Any nation in the world that grows on small-scale industry. How many? You talk of loans to farmers, for instance. Africa is blessed with land. What is the percentage of farmland that is being utilized in the African region to produce what is needed? Like you say, he has markets to produce and sell and get back his things. But you see, the African is bedeviled with corruption and greed. Once whatever they have is not enough, you can find out from those leaders whether they don't have houses and properties in other parts of the world. What are they doing? How many properties does an American president have outside America? How many properties does the Chinese president have outside China? You see, these are the issues that we do not. COVID-19 is a recent issue that affects everybody. It didn't only affect Zambia.
Yes.
How much of the health well-being of Zambia did the president invest in before even the COVID-19? How many hospitals works in Zambia? How many health facilities? So we are using COVID-19, and we are still seeing, even the World Bank has said, okay, we relieve you of COVID-19. IMF, everybody, and there are donors. Where are these resources?
Okay.
We have the flying doctors. We have other world NGOs that are helpful to African countries. They come with their resources. What have you done with them? So it is, whenever you give debt relief to any African country, they steal the money and bury it for themselves. Nothing goes to the nation to help it develop. So I do not even agree that China or World Bank should give them debt relief.
Okay. Now,
you sign document.
Documents.
You sign something because you think you know what you're going to do.
Okay.
If you sign a project, every project must have a benefit. Must be able to pay itself back. If you are doing a rail, for instance, it must be able to, what is the volume of carriage of that rail? How important economically it is to be able to revise. How are individuals able to make things work?
Okay.
And then governments can make it work.
That is another question. How can individuals make things work and government just can't make it work? A typical example of what is happening in Zambia. Now, both of you are of the opinion that the debt should not be cancelled. There should not be any form of relief. If they're to pay back for what is happening right now, Zambia is in deficit. How do you think they're going to pay back, if not handing over Zambia to the Chinese government?
Already, China is indirectly ruling Zambia. What they have, that's what my position is now. Whether the debts are cancelled or not, they still will remain the same. But they will make progress as a country and as a nation if and when they fall back to the resources they have. I'm not an economist. I know you used to talk about comparative cost advantage. You have an advantage. You abandon the advantage and start pursuing and envying another person's advantage. You have your own. As I said, cobalt is needed by different Western countries for these having electric vehicles. Why don't you enter into an agreement with them on that?
Body said they cannot even extract cobalt. They don't even know the price.
What I'm saying is the exploration of the cobalt.
Yeah.
It's not that it's there. It's not already. That's number one. Number two, further agreement. Every year, so number of Zambians will be trained along that line. It's an agreement. Once that thing is sealed, a time will come, that money they borrowed will be paid back, and now you have empowered your citizens. They still need uranium for rockets, science, and all that. They need copper. Copper is needed in so many things. So why don't you take advantage of what God has blessed you with? By nature, Zambia is one of the richest countries in this world.
By nature.
Natural resources. But human resources, nowhere to be found. So they need to come back to the drawing board and look at it. All these debts can be paid. Just like, if you allow me to speak Benin now, Uje is a kind of a valley. You want to fill it up. You go and dig a flat surface. You dig a flat surface to fill that hole. As you have filled that hole, you have left with another hole. You keep on doing that, so work done is zero. So fall back on the resources God has blessed you with. You didn't grow copper, there's not a plant. You didn't grow those natural resources. Take advantage of them. As we're told now, which is true, that Israel has little or nothing. Don't fall back on what God has blessed them with. They have the brain. Use the brain. It's a matter of brain, not brawn this time. So if Africans can come together and nest the resources God has blessed them with, we don't need external influences at any given point in time. So if China agrees to cancel the debt of Zambia, work done is still zero.
All right, work done is still zero. Do you agree to that, that if China chooses to cancel the debt, work done is still zero? Because this is what Edgar Lungu is crying for right now. Cancel this debt.
You see, the issue is, what is his blueprint on the development of the nation that he can present to the world? And you are ready to follow it through. Because you can present things on paper. After the next election, that's the end of the story. Nothing happens to that again. Because you don't have the will, the mental will, and the heart. It's an attitude. The African leadership, how people are asking, where is the same God that created the West and that created Africa? Because we do not see anything that pricks our heart. Look at, open any nation in Africa, it's a kind of ones of corruption and everything. They have enough. The president of Zambia if you go through his personal account and his things he has,
Yeah.
he's enough to pay some debt.
Wow.
So why see that some of the things? You cannot be kind. Oh, we don't want to use the citizens. You don't want to handle the citizens to believe that you are not. Get yourself together. Look inwards. There's no nation that doesn't borrow. American borrows. But when you borrow, you tie it to something that can be transparently seen, and it's not your own. If your president comes, another president comes, he follows through that thing. And not beginning a new elephant walk
All right.
that has no benefit to the people.
Thank you. Our time is up. I just got the signal to call it a wrap right now on this show. You have 30 seconds, Honorable, to summarize. 30 seconds only.
That's even too much. The Zambia president
Yes.
should go back to former President Kenneth Kaunda. Is he alive? Go back to him.
Yeah.
Where did we miss it? Once about to retrace your steps. That's the beginning of the way forward for Zambia.
Right. To retrace their steps.
to meet
Ask
up.
Kenneth Kaunda how he did it. Okay, that's it on today's edition of Africa Discourse. I really appreciate you stopping by this frequency on this channel to see and hear what we have to say. Thank you so much, Reverend. And of course, thank you so much, Honorable, for coming on today's show. Appreciate your comments. See you tomorrow, God willing, on International Forum. Bye for now.